Hello guys, welcome to Tony Forex Academy. Today we want to talk about what happened yesterday after Trump posted the tariffs for 90 days and also maintained the tariffs for China at 125%. So we want to see if the likelihood of China retaliating to the 125% tariff. So the likelihood for this is very high, and it is also very close to inevitable based on the historical behavior and the strategic interest and political optics of China. So why do we think the likelihood for China retaliating towards this being high? So China's track record on retaliation in the past trade wars, for example, in 2018, 2019, China always responded to US tariffs with tariffs on US goods, especially agriculture, auto, aircrafts. Also, the currency devaluations, letting the yuan weaken to offset tariffs. And also, China used to target key US sectors where it hurts politically. For example, the Midwest farmers, the tech industry. And also, China believes in equal strength response. It's about, for China, it's about face, also sovereignty, and also leverage. China cannot appear weak in this situation, and also it cannot give in. They already said the other day that in a trade war nobody can win, and it's a lose-lose and nobody can win. So yes, retaliation is extremely highly, and some of the strategic reasons why China will retaliate is because of their domestic audience. The Chinese leadership must show strength and avoid appearing weak. Retaliation boosts nationalism, especially if they frame the US as the aggressor. You saw this when during Trump era, the first term. So yes, also for political leverage, tariffs can be used to create pressure in key US political regions, for example, targeting the soybean, which has the Midwest farmers. But again, these soybeans are the main, like, China depends on it because they feed over 400 million of their pigs. So for a long-term strategy, China sees itself as the peer rival to the US, not a subordinate. But also, not responding would would set a precedent they likely want to avoid. So for economic defense, China will also retaliate. Tariffs threatens export, retaliation shift negotiations balance. So what are the possible forms of retaliation? So for example, the Chinese would let the yuan weaken to offset this impact. The likelihood for this is very high. And also regulatory crackdowns on US firms operating in China, for example, Apple. And then this one is the risk for this, or the likelihood for this, is quite not that much. And then to choke US stocks, China will target these rare earth exports, and this one could play along, but on a later date. So probably this tariff retaliation probability of this is quite high. And then if the US slaps China with more tariffs, it's not a question of if, but how and when. The nature of and scale of their response will shape how hard risk markets and gold react. So we are looking at gold right now, and we know very well that when it's time for trade wars, what happens? Gold will surge because it's a safe haven, and we saw the turnaround of events when Trump even posted on his X account before stating that he's going to pause tariffs for 90 days for countries that did not retaliate. So we saw gold moving from these lower levels, and then now it's trading at around back to the previous high before it moves further to maybe 3160, but it's trying to create a shoulder here, or trying to consolidate here, or even maybe we could see a retest of this level, and then maybe it will move upward. But I don't see gold selling at the moment because of these tensions. For GJ, we saw that initially you can see this quite move this movement. Let me just drag this and then so that you can see for explanation. So this is when, because I was watching this is when Trump just posted that he's posing all tariffs on all of the other countries except for China. So what happens initially? GJ was GBP JPY, this pair saw the pound losing value to Japanese yen, because the Japanese yen is considered a safe haven currency. So that's why we saw previously, after all these tariffs, it lost quite a huge percentage of value. But after this, what happened? It was no longer considered a safe haven, and people moved back to their pound, and we saw that's why pound was bought. And then it's trying to consolidate around this region. So we are watching as we wait for China. If China is going to retaliate today, then possibly we could see a further movement downwards, because it's going to escalate the tensions. And for the same happened for the Swiss. So for Swiss is also considered a safe haven, and even if you check your currency strength meter for long term, you'll always see that Swiss franc is considered a safe haven, even for long term, even for gold. So we could see that the USD gained, and yes, people decided to buy the US dollar. And for Bitcoin also surged further, even for various stocks that previously had lost a lot of billions of dollars. So we saw that the stock market was pumped in by about 4.4 trillion US dollars. So it's quite a rebound. So is it a market correction? Some call it market manipulation, because anyway, that is for politicians to talk about. But economists and professionals will tell us what really happened, why Trump came up with the tariffs. Then after some time post, then we could wait for about 90 days to see if these tariffs will come back. But again, we should not forget that Trump said that he's going to pose these reciprocal and 10% tariffs. Still, Trump is going to there's this tariffs that is still coming on the pharmaceuticals. So what happens when the pharmaceutical industries are targeted by the Trump tariffs, which is coming in soon, and we don't know anytime. Trump can just wake up and post. So we could discuss the Trump tariffs on pharma and what it means. So like the countries that would be targeted in this case would be, for example, India and China, which are key generic and API suppliers. Switzerland and Germany are also big players in high-end drugs and biotech. So what is the objective of Trump trying to tariff on pharma? This is because Trump believes in bringing back manufacturing to the US, and also he is trying to reduce the dependency on foreign medicine. This is after COVID. We depended on foreign currency. Trump US depended on foreign currency for medical supplies, and also is also trying to score political points on America First health policy. So what are the macro impact on this? For example, for drugs, we could see the impact of these tariffs on pharma. We could see price rising on drugs, especially in the US, which would lead to inflation risk. And also the supply chain will be disrupted. Delays in generics and raw materials. We could see also the health sector being pressured, and also companies that rely on imports. We could see inflation, which could rise if costs pass to consumers. And then also retaliation risk is also high because China or India may restrict API exports. And also for the forex market, would see some currencies, USD, CHF would drop because the Swiss farmer, for example, the Roche or the Novartis, will be hit. For gold in this case, gold will remain bullish, and this is because of the inflation fears and geopolitical tensions. For JPY, we would see that this is a risk off, so JPY will strengthen. And for the sectoral equity impact, this big US pharma, for example Pfizer, Merck, there's a mixed reaction. For example, cost may rise, but market share may grow if imports drop. Generic drug makers would be hit hard. So, for the possible retaliation risk would make India would limit API exports or raises their own tariffs, and also China may restrict rare ingredients or escalates with the tech or electronic response. And this would lead to a sectoral trade war in healthcare, creating new global supply challenges. So this move is inflationary, and also it's quite bullish for gold, and we could not wait for further high, because right now you could see gold is trying to make higher high is just moving high. So if you are a trader, please uh, remember to use proper risk management, and when you are getting into your trade, ensure you ask yourself questions: why am I going into this trade? And consider your time zone. What time is it where you are? Why now? Check before even you place a trade. Make sure you ask yourself, is there any upcoming news? Is there anything posted on Twitter by Trump? Keep an eye on all these news alerts. So even on YouTube, there are people who always live. Check even international news. Check Al Jazeera. Check CNN. Anything. Trump can just wake up, pick his phone, post something. Market is always on the watch. So make sure you are updated and don't be left out. So when you're taking your trades, lower your risks, because we are not yet out of the hood. For safe havens like GJ, we could see a further downward, because I expect a further downward towards let me see, I expect a further downwards further down movement of why is this marker not working? Okay, it doesn't want to work. So okay, towards maybe this level, we could come back towards this level. Yes, we could come back towards maybe onwards. So I'm not going to expect upward movement for GJ, and for the same would apply for this, because this was in consideration of safe haven moves. BTC we could see short sales, because for people need money right now. China has already restricted the dollar for some time. I think we could see, maybe because China is also big in Bitcoin, so we could see people selling their Bitcoin so that they could buy some things. Already the 125 tariffs is in effect, so prices of goods maybe are going to be high in China, and those, maybe some people would sell off their Bitcoin to buy assets. The same could happen to gold. We could see short sales if China makes a move today. For USD card, we could see a further downward movement. Right now, I don't expect USD to gain against Canadian dollar. The same would happen for AUD. AUD will lose its value because JPY is quite a safe haven currency, and it will move further downwards. So as you trade, make sure you consider the news that are being announced anytime by these two big countries, that is China and the US. And also the Europe has not yet made a joint statement, so keep an eye on news. That is what I would say. As for Tony Forex Academy, we advise you to use proper risk management while trading, and remember this video is just for educational purposes only. It's not a financial advice. And I wish you a happy trading. All the best.